In the early 1970s, Vincent Price was the ad man for a campaign of recipes and drink recipes done by Angostura Bitters. The recipes were published in magazines and in newspapers, and you could also mail in and request a copy of this free cookbook. Thus begins the third part in my ongoing Cooking with Vincent Price series. The first being cooking all of the recipes in a treasury of great recipes. The second being cooking selections from Cooking Pricewise. And now we enter the third stage, which is cooking what recipes I can find from the Angostura cookbook that Vincent was the ad man for. There's a little bit of a problem here. I can't find a full scan of this cookbook online anywhere. So I think what I am going to do, since this is what I do, is I am going to try to reach out to Angostura Bitters and see if somehow I can get a copy of this cookbook. It's not really a cookbook, it's a cooking pamphlet, really. But it was at least 82 recipes. So I'm going to see if I can't try to get a copy of it. I may not be successful, but I am going to give it a shot. Today I am making the Newsy Stew from the Angostura cookbook. Along with the Newsy Stew, it has a recipe for a Manhattan. The recipe calls for 2/3 good whiskey. I used James E. Pepper 1776 rye straight whiskey. 1/3 sweet vermouth. I used Carpano Antica Formula vermouth. And 2 dashes of Angostura bitters over ice. I do not drink whiskey drinks. I drink gin drinks and I drink vodka drinks. This drink is very, very good. I made the drink. I drank the drink. I will make the drink again. In fact, I had to make the drink a second time for the video because my first video of the drink didn't quite look the way I wanted it to look. So I do have it right here, and, because I can do this, it's very, very good. I find it very refreshing, and again, I don't care for whiskey drinks. My husband, however, is a whiskey connoisseur, and I made him the drink yesterday when I made the recipe, and what he says is he finds it odd that it is over ice. He says that he would not take the drink back or send it back if he was presented with it, but he would drink it very quickly so the ice doesn't water the drink down. And that makes a lot of sense. Also, he did finish the drink. I will probably finish this one. Yeah, it's really good. So let's talk about the recipe. So the recipe is very light on ingredients. It calls for 2 pounds of cubed beef. It calls for 1.5 cups of water and 2 tablespoons of Angostura bitters. 2 tablespoons comes to 1 fluid ounce. The recipe then says you can add in, quote, your favorite vegetables and salt and pepper. And that's basically it. I added in potatoes, carrots, and I also added in 1 large shallot into my recipe. The shallot was a last minute decision. I thought that the recipe, as it was written, needed an additional something. I wanted a little bit more flavor, but I didn't want to alter what the Angostura bitters might be doing to the recipe. So I didn't add in like any kind of broth or any kind of seasoning or powder or anything like that. So I threw in a shallot. The recipe then asks you to brown the beef for 15 minutes. You add in your remaining ingredients, you add in all of your liquids, and then you simmer for 2 hours. That's the recipe. Mine, I stopped it at a little bit over an hour. Maybe the cooking vessel counts. I use Le Creuset cast iron, and typically on my stove, my Le Creuset cooks hotter and it cooks faster. So if you are going to cook this recipe, it is definitely one that you probably don't want to walk away from. You may want to check it at least in an hour to see how fork tender your vegetables are. And I went based off the vegetables. So how does it taste? The taste is very, very good. You can taste the Angostura. It is definitely there. It definitely gives something kind of underlying on the back end. I thought it would alter the taste of the stew more than it did, but it definitely did not. And I'm very glad that I did add in the shallot that I had. You know, at the same time, I also really didn't know what to expect. I would 100% make this again. You can definitely taste what the bitters are doing in the stew. My husband had a good idea of, if we were going to make this again, Mark thinks that we should maybe marinate the beef in some of the Angostura, or maybe the Angostura and the sweet vermouth, to see what that does. Maybe it imparts a deeper taste to the beef, and go from there. You know, it kind of makes me wonder, and I have thought this through some of the recipes that I've made so far, and granted I haven't really made that many because I'm just starting this out, is our food now clearly tastes different, I think, than our food must have tasted then. It's definitely different in the seasonings and the sweetness and the sourness and all of the underlying tastes to your food. It's kind of clear that they're definitely, they of people of the past, were not flavoring or seasoning their food the way that we season our food now. So are we over seasoning our food? Were they under seasoning their food? Or is it different ingredients? I don't know, but I've noticed this, and I have a feeling it's probably something I'm going to notice throughout cooking all of these recipes. So that is the Newsy stew from Angostura with Vincent Price as the ad man and the face for 1972. I hope that you enjoyed this video. As I said earlier, the scans of recipes from this are very few and far between. I think I have seen about 5, so I am going to cook through the ones that I can find, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much. Bye.